Hey, my friends, JT DeBolt is with you today for the Elite Marketing Pro Daily Dose of Awesome. Great to be with you on a Wednesday morning. It is 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, and you know what that means? It's time for your 15 minutes of daily inspiration, education, and motivation to help you get your day started off right. And I say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, whatever time it is for you, no matter where you might be tuning in from on the Big Blue Marble. Thank you for joining us here every single Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. As you're jumping out, let me know where you are tuning in from. Give me a big shout out. Say hello. I see Jan. Hey, Jan, what's happening? Heather's out there calling in from Texas. Courtney. Hey, what's up, Court? Good to see you last week. Lots of fun. Lisa, Jill, Betsy's coming in. Good to see you all. And hey, listen, I got to say a big shout out and a big thanks to the entire Elite Marketing Pro community for coming out here and supporting these calls. It's always awesome to have you guys out here. And today I want to talk to you today about a four-letter word. You probably heard this before, a four-letter word that will help you absolutely crush it in your business and in your life. The question I would have for you all is this. Have you ever had one of those moments in your life, could be in your business as an entrepreneur, could be up to this point in your Elite Marketing Pro journey or whatever journey you might be on right now, where you were faced with that tough situation, right? Maybe you hit that flat spot in your business, or maybe you met somebody that didn't necessarily agree with your way of thinking or your view of the world. And that situation tested you. You were up against that situation where all of a sudden you realized, man, this isn't exactly what I thought it was cracked out to be. If you've had one of those moments thus far, I want you to type a 1 into the chat box. A 1 into the chat box if you've already had or are continuing to have, maybe you've already had it this morning, a moment where you're like, man, this is not what it was cracked up to be. If that's you, then I want you to type a 1. See lots of ones coming in. Hey, Nancy calling in from Texas. Good to see you. Betsy, Courtney, David. Let's see. Lots of folks. Chad, good to see you. All right, so lots of folks are dialing 1. And that's good because that tells me something. That tells me that you are on the path to your greatness. I want to talk to you today about a four-letter word. In fact, it's not just a four-letter word. I truly believe it's a character trait that we have to have as entrepreneurs, as leaders, as people who are out there making a difference. I just finished an amazing book. This is one of my highest recommendations I can give for a book. It's called Grit by Angela Duckworth. Can you guys see that? I'll hold that up. If you have not yet read this book, make this a priority. All right, Grit. This is probably one of the most important books I've read. I've read a lot of great books, and I like to give recommendations only to the books that I think are great. You've heard a lot of the traditional stuff. Everybody's got the same book list regurgitated. Every entrepreneur's got to read Think and Grow Rich. Every entrepreneur's got to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that's great. This one, to me, trumps all of those books, and I've got a couple of others that do as well, but I want to talk to you today about this because this four-letter word, grit, pretty much encapsulates what we all as entrepreneurs have to take on board in our business and in our life. And I'm going to talk to you specifically about what this word means to me. In fact, I'm going to use the word grit as an acronym for the 4 things that you have to have, 4 characteristics, 4 personality traits, 4 ways of being that will define your trajectory in business and life. Out of curiosity, if you've read this book, send me a 2 in the chat box. If you've read this book, or if you've had, or maybe you're on the way of reading this book. Let's see. I got a couple of folks. Angela Duckworth, definitely recommend this book. Angela Duckworth is pretty awesome. So she encapsulates a lot of what I believe. But she's an academic, so she says it far more eloquently than I can. And the way she defines grit is passion and perseverance over a long period of time or towards a long-term goal. And I love that idea because it's not just about being passionate. You guys, if you followed me long enough, you know what I think about passion. Coming from the personal development industry, I personally think my industry has screwed people over by trying to force feed the idea that you should follow your passion, that you should follow your bliss. Not that that's an overly bad thing to do, but the concept in and of itself can be somewhat harmful. And the reason for that is this, is that what happens when you lose the passion, right? What happens if at the end, and I see some people dialing too. Tracy Irwin has read this book. Awesome, Tracy, good for you. You probably know what I'm talking about, right? This book's pretty amazing. And I'm going to get to the book in just a second. But the way that Angela Duckworth has gone about teaching grit, and she's somebody that I actually follow because she's a great teacher, a great instructor, and you know, a lot of the things that she talks about and the way she delivers that message are powerful and useful. But the thing that I love about this is when she's talking about passion, she's not talking about it in the traditional sense like I was just about to rant about. Let me just give that rant out real quick. I personally think that my industry, the personal development industry, has done more harm than good when it comes to talking about passion. Right? We talk about following your passion and talk about you should love what you do. Well, the simple fact of the matter is that's not true, right? I mean, 100% of the time is you're not going to feel the passion for it. Think about something that you're really passionate about. Maybe it's being a parent, right? Maybe it's your marriage. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe you're passionate about playing an instrument, or maybe you're passionate about dance, or maybe you're passionate about, you know, writing. There are times where it doesn't feel that great. Right? When you're learning to play the guitar and your fingers are all shredded, when you can't get the notes right, when it's frustrating because you can't stay in tempo and stay in time, those are not passionate times. Those are times that test your passion. There are times as entrepreneurs where you might feel passionate about what you do. I'm passionate about my message. I'm passionate about what I believe in, but there are times where through the research and the hard work, the dark hours as they're called, where nobody's paying attention and nobody's clapping and telling you how great you are. Those are the times where you as an entrepreneur have to really dig in. You have to be in a place where you can say to yourself, it goes beyond passion. And now we're talking about grit. So let me give you my perspective on grit. And again, this is my perspective. These 4 things are not what Angela Duckworth talks about in the book, but they are inspired by what she teaches. The first element that you have to have in order to develop grit is guts. So the G in grit stands for guts. Now, what word would you associate as a synonym with guts? If you guys had to think of a word that is synonymous with guts, what would that be? Go ahead and type it into the chat box. To me, I think guts is a really powerful thing. You got to have guts to be an entrepreneur. And what's interesting about this is a lot of times when we think of the word guts, we get exactly what Jill just typed, and that is courage. Jan typed it in. A lot of people are typing courage. And guess what? I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think that courage and guts are so closely related that they're practically the same word. They're interchangeable. Here's my little nuance to that, and the reason why I like guts in the term of grit. Courage is something that we all have to have, and you can have courage to strike out on your own. You could be working right now. Maybe you've got a job. Maybe you're working for a boss you don't love. Maybe it's a career you're not crazy about, or something that you do love, but you see a bigger picture, right? And so you break the status quo. You stand up, you cut that shackle off your ankle, and you go full force for your entrepreneurial dream. That takes courage. The question is, what happens after that? What happens after everybody's like, whoa, go for it, and they're patting you on the back, and they're throwing you that little ticker tape parade telling you that's amazing, and everybody's like, wow, you're so courageous, you're so inspiring, and they're backing you up, reinforcing how you feel. What happens when you get your ass kicked? What happens when the haters and the naysayers come around? And I'm going to talk about that actually tomorrow. So I want you guys to come back here tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on the Daily Dose, where I'm going to be talking about what to do about haters and naysayers. But that's a topic for another day. The way I think of it is this. Courage is where, maybe you've seen this in the movie, right? Where the hero or the heroine is up against the wall, and the bad guy's about to get him. They're gonna take him down. They're gonna kill him. They're gonna do something awful to him. Courage is where that hero, and this, by the way, isn't just in the movies. This is in everyday life too. The hero stands up for themselves, and they courageously say, "I believe in myself. I believe in my mission. I believe in whatever it is." And you see that, and it's inspirational, right? That's courage. What guts is where they go, "Bring it on!" Like, they're just about to get beat. They're just about to get killed, shot, whatever. It's like, it seems like the end, and all of a sudden they crack that knowing smile and they go, "Bring it on." Or it's that scene in Rocky when he's getting his butt kicked, and he's just pounding. He's like, "That's all you got?" That to me is guts. It's that next level. It's that spirit behind the courage. The courage and the guts are, again, this is semantics. I know people are like, "Oh, come on, man." But to me, guts is that next level. And that's what I love about it. And I think that's what defines grit, is guts. That it's that courage. It's that next level courage. And as an entrepreneur, we have to have that, right? Every single day, we have to show up. We have to have the guts to put ourselves out there. We have to have the guts to not be perfect. In fact, we have to have the guts to drop the perfection obsession. We obsess over being perfect. We obsess over being right. We obsess over not, being ridiculous. And there are times where you have to have the guts to screw up, right? You have to have the guts to make mistakes. You have to have the guts to move past those mistakes and see the value in it. So that's what that first letter in grit, the G, for me is defined by guts. Now, the R is resilience. Resilience. Now, the reason I love resilience and why I think it's a very gritty characteristic and a characteristic we have to have as entrepreneurs is that resilience is that ability to hang in there, to weather the storm, no matter how bad it gets. And what's interesting about resilience is we're never quite sure how much we have until we're actually tested. This is why I tell people all the time, whether they're a personal client of mine or whether they're friends or people that I hang out with, is when they're going through a tough time, I'm like, you should be excited about this. I mean, I understand that it sucks. I've gone through tough times myself. Gone through them fairly recently where you're going through this period. You're like, will this end? Can we just be done with this now? And the idea behind it is that if we get past that place, not only do we get out of a place of victimhood and move into being in a place of our power, our personal power, we realize the value of it. Now, resilient people are people that can pretty much handle anything. Resilient people realize that they can handle anything. In fact, in many cases, when we are resilient, if we demonstrate resilience, we're the kind of people that kind of think to ourselves, I could probably take more of this, but I don't want to. And instead of just sitting there and taking it, they're trying to find a way out of it. They're looking for a path. They're looking for a solution. Now, you've seen people, and you may know these people in your life who just seem to be able to just take it and take it and take it and take it. And by it, I'm talking about negativity. I'm talking about bad stuff. That's being a beast of burden, right? That's just being somebody who's just going to get whipped. You don't want to be a whipping post. You don't want to be a beast of burden. You want to be somebody who's resilient that says, this sucks, and luckily I'm built for this. And when you think about that, I've heard people use religious terms and religious things about this. They say, oh, God only picks the people that are strong enough to go through it. That's great. It's still the same thing, whether you're religious or you're not, whether you're spiritual, or whether you're not, whether you're just being pragmatic about your approach to success. If you are a resilient person, what that means is you can handle whatever life dishes to you, whatever the situation brings. And that's what you have to have as an entrepreneur. If you put out an ad and you listen to the best advice from the smartest people, and we've got a ton of really smart people in this industry, and especially in EMP, I can't believe the level of support that people get here in this program. But what's crazy about it is you could have the best support in the world, and you could take the most massive, purposeful, imperfect action and go out there and still come up short. Your ad might fall flat. You might get 0 conversions or great conversions and no sales, and you're thinking to yourself, what gives, man? You have to be resilient enough to go, well, that sucks. And now what are we going to do to fix it? Right? You don't want to just keep going through the same cycle, doing the insanity process, doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for a different outcome. You have to be resilient enough to not allow the situation to beat you down, to rob you of your resolve, to rob you of your creativity so that you can get out of it. So let's talk about the next phase, which is getting out of it, right? So if you've got the guts and you've got the resilience, you need the I. The I in grit is intensity. Man, I could get really, really fired up about this one. Intensity doesn't necessarily mean chest-pounding bravado, okay? You could get intense. Like obviously I'm pretty intense. I'm not somebody who comes out here laid back because I just love what I do and I believe in the message. And I also believe in the necessity, the power, and the importance. In fact, almost from a place of emergency. Like I feel like this has got to get out. So that can bring intensity. What I'm talking about with intensity is the way you go about it, your daily method of operation. What I mean by intensity is it's not just a high level of energy, okay? It's not just being loud. It's not just having a high-pitched voice. It's not just about pounding, 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 grinding, grinding, grinding. What it is, intensity, is the ability to stick with it and never really lose your energy. And when you start to lose your energy, you go, man, I'm starting to wear down. That's when you become stronger, all right? That's when you realize, hey, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to give it my best. Think of it this way. Another way of thinking of intensity is, let's say that you have something you know you've got to do. Maybe you've got that blog post you've been writing. You could string together 700 or so words and you could post it, and that'd be great. You could sit there and obsess over getting it right, making sure that all your punctuation was correct, making sure you didn't misspell any words, making sure you didn't misspeak, or you could say it a different way, make sure your link is in there, and you could go through all that process of trying to get it perfect. And that's fine too. Intensity is not about those things. Intensity is about showing up and doing your absolute best work every single day. And here's what I mean. If you show up and you feel amazing, it's easy to deliver under those circumstances, right? You got enough sleep. You ate great food. You just made all the sales. Your financial worries are taken care of. So all you got to do is just show up and be awesome. You could feel great, right? Everything's figured out. You just got off vacation or you're on your way to vacation. You feel amazing. Life is good. You got the cat in the bag, right? That's fine. Here's the question I have for you. What about the days you feel like crap? What about the days you're about 50%? If you give 100% of that 50, if all you got is a half a tank of gas, but you burn that whole tank of fuel down, giving everything you got, I'll take that person over the person that felt 100% and only gave 80. Because the person that gave 100% of 50 gave more than the person that gave 80% of 100. That's what I'm talking about with intensity. If you show up to life and business with intensity, and I'm not talking about being intense, meaning you're stressed out or you have anxiety. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where you are full freaking throttle, baby. That's what I mean by intensity. If you show up to everything you do and give your best, knowing that you're not going to be 100% all the time. There are going to be days where you're at your best and days where you're not, but you give everything you got. That's what I'm talking about. When I coach my athletes, it's the same exact way. When I coach my entrepreneurs, it's the same way. When I coach my executive clients, it's the same way. Those are the people that kick ass. The most gritty people I know are the people that are intense, meaning they give 100% all the time. Now, by the way, intensity, again, it doesn't mean that you have to be difficult to be around. You could be a happy-go-lucky person, but you can still be intense. You know, look at Tony Robbins, man. That guy's always positive, but he's intense. Look at Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss is an intense guy, but he's a pretty happy, low-key guy. And then you get guys that are a little bit more fired up, right? And the whole point is this. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter their gender. It doesn't matter their ethnicity. It doesn't matter their race. It doesn't matter their background. If you bring 100% of your best stuff, that's an intense thing to do. It takes practice, but guess what? You can develop it just like any muscle. All right. The final letter in grit is T. And this characteristic, I think, is one of the most important. We talk quite a bit about it here, both on the Daily Dose of Awesome, but we talk about it just in entrepreneurship, and that's tenacity. Now, tenacity is an interesting word because you might say, well, isn't that like resilience? And to me, here's the differentiation. And again, this might be semantics for some of you, but for me, there's a very specific differentiation. I'm going to share it with you right here, right now. Again, resilience is the ability to take it, to hang in there, and to be creative enough to know, hey, I could take more of this if I had to, but I'm going to find a way out of this. When we talk about tenacity, tenacity means that when it gets tough, you get better. You get stronger through the challenge. When I was talking about guts and I said, you know, you see the action hero that gets punched in the face and then they smile and they go, that's all you got. Tenacity is a byproduct of that kind of level of having guts, that level of courage. Tenacity says, this sucks, and I just got stronger. You should have seen me 5 minutes ago before the suck factor hit me. I was pretty good, but now that this bad news happened, or now that this good thing happened, I just got better. And guess what that means? That means that I'm more capable, I'm stronger, I'm smarter, I'm wiser, and I'm about to kick some serious ass. I'm about to shift to that next gear. That's tenacity, okay? It means more than just hanging in there. Hanging in there is fine. I love hanging in there, but what about, you know, there's only so long you can hang on. You see that, you're like, if you're hanging onto the edge of a cliff, how long can your grip last? That's hanging in there. Tenacity goes, holy crap, I'm getting stronger. And not only do you pull up, you do a full muscle up where you pull yourself up, kick your leg over the bar, and you're off to the races. This is what I'm talking about with grit, my friends. Grit is something that we all have to develop. Grit is that 4-letter word that will absolutely dictate how high, how fast, and how far you fly in business and in life. And I'm going to leave you with one last thing. It's an actual quote, and it's an actual passage from this book. And by the way, if you guys haven't gotten this book yet, I don't care if you get it on Audible. I don't care if you listen to it, you know, as an audio book, or you download it as a PDF, or you go to the library and check it out. Here's what I want to read, and this comes from page 275, almost at the end of the book. And I got this thing all highlighted and marked up just like I do in most of my books. This one reads like this. We all face limits, not just in talent, but in opportunity. But more often than we think, our limits are self-imposed. We try, fail, and conclude that we've bumped our heads against the ceiling of possibility. Or maybe after taking just a few steps, we change direction. In either case, we never venture as far as we might have. To be gritty is to keep putting one foot in front of the other. To be gritty is to hold fast to an interesting and purposeful goal. To be gritty is to invest day after week after year in challenging practice. To be gritty is to fall down 7 times and to stand 8. My friends, become gritty. Become the toughest person you can. Develop the guts to not just take risk, but to hang in no matter how hard it gets. Become so resilient that it doesn't matter what the situation is, whether it's a huge victory or a crushing defeat, you're built for it. Develop that intensity of spirit, that intensity of intent, that intensity of your vision, that intensity of the love that you have for what you do, and the ability to hang in there when that love has worn a little bit thin, and develop that tenacity to become not just the ability to hang in, but to become stronger through the challenge. And when you become gritty and develop that grit, you will crush it in business and life and be the kind of person people will look to as the example to follow. All right, my friends, that just about does it for today. Coming at you again tomorrow. Again, we do this daily dose of awesome each and every single Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. If you got something from this video today, if there was a message that landed for you, if there was something that sparked for you, feel free to share this. Share it out there with your social networks. Invite them to come over here. And if you are here with us watching live, or even if this is a recording or a share that you've seen, get yourself over to EliteMarketingPro.com. You can download our 10-day boot camp that's going to teach you how to build your business online so that you can have huge success and not have to be that person that's grinding away all the time. All right, my friends, as always, a privilege and an honor. And remember, no matter what course you fly in life, fly high, fly fast, and fly far. We'll see you soon.